Hello, this is the Bard Monk. Today I'm going to tell you a story of faith, hope, and courage of a little girl. The person that she was standing up to was Hitler. Now, this story came to me quite a while ago when I was much younger, and I was out visiting an uncle across the sea. He had been spending some time with me, and we had been talking, and he said, "You need to talk to this person." And I trusted him, so he took me down the road, and where the road met the bush, he told me to walk about 200 or 300 yards in, and I'd find this person, and I did. I found a very disheveled soul. Not much left. Very haunted. Very disturbed. Bearing a pain that he wished he would never have brought upon himself, to such a point that he had put himself in self-exile for probably close to 40, 45 years. I'm not sure how young he was when he started. But then, after sitting with him for a little bit of time, he came to a place where he decided to tell me his story of why he was where he was and who he was. A way of maybe cleansing his soul before his death, which he felt was imminent. He was in horrid condition, and the place around him was in horrid condition. It smelled, and it stank, and there were spirits everywhere. And my simple faith, spoke peace, and there was. And he sat and he's told me this story. I'm going to tell you as I recall it. He said when he was much younger, he was in the war on the side of Germany, and he had been recruited quite young and found himself very good at his job. Crack shot, nerves of steel, didn't seem to have any moral code at all. Would do whatever was asked. This brought him to a place where he became part of the elite guard. And I said the elite guard had many different people in it. He said he was high up. He'd risen that way by very devious means, he said, that it was normal in the guard. And he came to a place where he was guarding Hitler. And this story that he was going to tell me came from a time when he was guarding Hitler. And Hitler was out inspecting the camps, checking over the ovens, making sure they're efficient and effective. His exact words. He didn't want one Jew left in Germany. He didn't want one Jew left in the world. And he would always mutter and talk about that as they were going place to place. They came to a camp. He couldn't remember the name of the camp. There were so many. And there was a line of people being pushed and fed into the ovens. And at the front of this line was this little Jewish girl. She didn't seem to be afraid like the others. She seemed to have a great joy and a huge smile. This disturbed Hitler. What she said disturbed him even more. She said, "You're going to let us go. Me, my whole family, we're going to America." God said it, and it's going to happen. At this point, Hitler flew into a rage. This was kind of his normal state. But he would not touch the filthy little girl, as he called her, and he called for one of the guards, who seemed to be preoccupied with something that no one else could see. And he seemed to be terrified of whatever he saw. His terror ended with a bullet from Hitler's gun. Hitler called it a personal present for a worthless being. The man said, I felt something. I felt amazingly warm and beautiful, and at the same time totally terrifying. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. At this moment, Hitler didn't look too good. Started to seem to be in some pain. But he dismissed it from his mind. You could see him doing it with his eyes. His eyes became black. And he spoke to the next guard and he said, push them all in. Push them all in. I command it. This guard, like the other guard, was totally terrified of something that we could not see. And he did not respond, and after a few seconds, Hitler ended his terror with a bullet. And again that little girl spoke, and she very simply said, you are going to let us go. Me and my entire family are going to America. God said it, and it's going to happen. Hitler was enraged by those words, but he was also in a great deal of pain. He looked around, but all of the other guards had scattered. He didn't know where they were. He would have them shot later. He had me make a note of that. And something happened to Hitler that I had seen very rarely. He ended up on his knees. He looked ashen. So I still could not see what was being seen by him, but whatever it was, I can't say terrified him. I never saw him in terror. Afraid? Not really. More in awe, in realizing that there was something much greater than him standing in front of him. He spoke in a broken voice. He said, what she says, do. Now. Get her on a plane. Get her out of here. Get her whole family out of here. And I was like, Hitler said, do I have to ask you again? If I have to ask you again, I'm going to shoot you. I'd already seen him shoot two men, so I wasn't going to be shot too. So I started to do what he had asked. The poor commandant, of course, had to check with Hitler. He didn't last long. He ended up with a bullet in his brain. Hitler was screaming, get her on a plane. I stood there amazed. I had never seen Hitler in this condition. He was always strong. He was always able. He was always like a god, standing above you, daring you to look him in the face. And here he was, curled on the ground, in excruciating agony. He still had a grip of his pistol. I wasn't about to push my luck. So I found the assistant at the camp, the assistant commandant, sergeant, and got him to do his duty. And there was a small airfield outside of every one of these